if you guys don't have an idea of what that actually is to get a fast pass to the core, at Summit, core is like the ultimate shopping place where you can buy everything from Beachbody, and the lines are literally hours long at times. People stand in line for hours. And luckily, you know, being elite, I'll be able to have a private shopping hour before it's open to everyone else and bring a guest. But I think Laura maybe will get a fast pass, so that will be pretty incredible to cut the lines. But back to Success Club, we've got Marissa Wine with 7 points, which is amazing. Christy Chekovaj with 5, and Anne-Marie Pector with 5. She's now hit Success Club 2 months in a row, which is huge. And then we have a lot of people that are so close to hitting Success Club. We've got Lauren Klein with 4, Lauren DeNicola with 4, Melinda Eddy with 4, Crystal Ferracchiola, sorry about the last name there, 4, Rachel Rohde with 4, Crystal Robinson 3, Eleanor Papp with 3, Amanda Liu with 2, Bridget Stegmeyer with 2, Suzanne Tavernese with 2, Jacqueline Craig with 2, Shannon Keach with 2, Raina Rizzi with 1. So that is great, and I hope to have a lot more people on the board by next week. Also next week, the new Coach Basics is starting on Monday. So if you want a refresher, or if you have a coach who you think would like to take it, make sure you let me know ASAP about that. What else we have? I gotta look back at the graphics, sorry. We also have our next challenge group starting on May 16th. And you'll see when I post the team calendar after this, that I have Bridal Boot Camp, or a Bridal Boot Camp challenge group on there for May 16th. This is something that you can choose to participate in or not, but Kristen Odell, who is a coach on Jen's team, a diamond coach, has had the experience of running a bridal boot camp that actually was really successful for her, and brought in a lot of new customers. And basically, she just marketed a specific challenge group that was open only to people participating in a wedding in some way. So it could be the bride, it could be the bridesmaids, it could be the mother of the bride, it could be the groomsmen, it could be, you know, just preparing to be a guest at someone's wedding and wanting to look your best. But she had the lucky experience of grabbing a couple of brides who then wanted to have their whole bridal party do it with them, and that was a really great thing. So while I feel like weddings are a little bit outside of my niche and my avatar, which I'll be talking about tonight, it certainly doesn't hurt to throw this out there, because Kristen will run the group for everybody. So if you have a participant, you simply could just double post with your regular challenge group. You won't really have to commit to much. And in the group later on, in the team group, I'll put up exact language and a graphic that you can copy and paste to create an event invite. It would be an easy thing to you know, boost or share on your like page if you have one. So that will be starting May 16th, like our regular challenge group, but just something to put out there. It certainly can't hurt to put the ask out there. If you have a like page and you don't feel like this fits with your niche, you can run it as a dark post, like I talked about in the other team call, where it's not a post that you actually post on your page specifically. It's a post that you can just create in Power Editor and target it to a specific audience. And that way you don't feel like you're throwing something that doesn't fit with your brand and your niche up on your like page. So something to keep in mind. But I will share all that information later on. You'll also see that for those of you that look like you're going to qualify for AMP, it looks like we definitely have a couple of people that will do so this month. AMP will be starting in the beginning of June. Although I would love to run it in May, the other Star Diamonds do not have enough people for us to run it in May. So we're going to have the people who qualify this month, or the people who qualify next month, join the June class of AMP. And as a reminder, the requirements for that are to be Emerald and to hit Success Club. So that is it there. And I think that is all my announcements before I jump into my presentation. Oh, again, the Backstage Pass for May will be the Monday of the last full week of May. So that will be May 23rd. Our next 7 days Shakeology group will also begin that day. So we'll always be running those things at the end of the month there. Does anyone have any questions before I jump into the presentation? No? Okay, so I'm going to be sharing my screen to, that's a holiday though. Memorial Day, are you thinking of, Katie, for the holiday? I believe it's the following weekend because it's actually on my daughter's birthday this year, so May 30th. So we should be okay starting that week before. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. It is the holiday in Canada. Okay. Just that Monday? Yeah. All right, maybe we'll see about moving it to Tuesday then. Do you think that would be better? Yeah. Okay. We'll still start the Shakeology group that Monday, but maybe we'll then move the Backstage Pass to Tuesday. So I will look at that. Thank you. So when I share my screen, it's kind of hard for me to see if you're asking questions. So you can unmute yourself and just talk. If you have a question, you can also type it in the chat box, but it might take me a minute to see it. So just give me 1 minute to pull it up. Okay, so here we go. All right, so tonight I'm going to be talking about developing your brand and your story. And the reason I wanted to do this is because as I'm, kind of thinking through what you need to know for your like page and branding yourself on Facebook, it seems that you just really can't do well with your like page unless you're really secure in what your brand is and what your story is. So I wanted to start with that because I know so many of you are interested in doing more with your like pages or starting one, which is great. So the first task that you want to do to figure out what your brand is to simply make a list. And you want to think about exactly who you are kind of demographically and also just as a person and personality wise. So your age, are you single, are you married, what's your occupation, what are your interests, what are your hobbies, and what is your personality type? Are you shy, are you outgoing, bubbly, quiet? And when you have this list of things, it should be something where when you're writing your posts, you're speaking to the same person. Because so much of this about your brand and your story is finding your avatar. It's speaking to the person that you are. Because remember, Beachbody is not your brand. Beachbody is the platform that we use and it's the products that we use, but it is not our brand. You are your brand. So you need to know exactly who you are. And if someone scrolls through your like page or your personal page, all of these things that are on your list should be obvious to them by flipping through. And then to dig deeper on who you are, you want to think about, what do you fear? So what do you fear in general as a person right now? What are your goals right now as a person? And what keeps you up at night? What do you worry about? Because what I'm going to get into later with this is just the more open you are and the more vulnerable you are about sharing who you are, the more you're going to have people connect with you. And I know a lot of you have a hesitation of, well, on my like page, I don't want to have my kids up there all the time. I don't want to have my family life up there all the time. That's not what needs to be there for people to get to know you. For people to get to know you, these are the kinds of things you have to share. This is the vulnerability we're looking for, not, pictures of your kid's face. It's, what do you fear? What are your goals? Who are you as a person? What do you struggle with? So that's how you're open on your page. And you want to look at who you are talking to on a daily basis until you're so secure with who this person is that you're literally like writing posts in your sleep talking to this person, that you're creating invites that are made for this person specifically. You're putting together images that you know would appeal to this person. So something great to do as a way to get into that mood is to create a visual of your avatar that you can always look at. And this is something that you can revisit or read when you need inspiration or focus. This is the person that you want to talk to in all of your posts on Facebook and in everything that you do representing your brand. So you could find like a random picture, you know, of a woman from Pinterest, or it could be a celebrity that kind of, you know, plays a character maybe that really represents who you want to speak to, but you want to see that person. And people that do this exercise even go so far as to name that person. Like, you know, if you want to call her Clara, then Clara is, you know, your girl that you're always talking to. And then you want to think about what kind of value can you add to this person's life, to your avatar, to Clara. What can you give this girl? So the questions to ask yourself: what advice or guidance can you provide? What skills, talent, or knowledge that do you have that she may not have? And you don't want to undervalue what you know. You know, none of us, well, I mean, most of us, some of us, I guess, on this team are personal trainers or, you know, fitness teachers really, but most of us really have almost no background in health and fitness professionally. But that doesn't mean that we have to undervalue what we actually know. So something as simple as like meal planning, or substituting ingredients that are healthier, or being able to modify exercises if you have a bad knee, or you know, finding a way to fit a half-hour workout into your day. Like these things that you do that are just normal to you now because you are now this kind of, you know, evolving person through Beachbody and through coaching and through everything that you do in your life. It doesn't mean that somebody else knows it. So just like you would want to tell your best friend these kind of little secrets and tricks that you figured out, you want to do the same for Clara, your avatar. Then you want to create a list of qualities that would belong to your ideal coach, because when we are attracting people with our brand, it's not just attracting people into our challenge groups, it's also attracting people to our team in general. So to do that, if you want to attract that type of person into your business, you have to be the best example of that person. You have to lead from the front. So your list of qualities is basically what would make an ideal coach. The ideal coach that you would just be like, oh my gosh, I just got the biggest rock star on my team. What would the qualities of that person be to get that rock star? And for that kind of person, what would she be looking for in a sponsoring coach? You know, why should she choose you joining Beachbody over somebody else? So you have to look at your list and you have to think about, if I want to attract this person with my brand, what do I need to work on as a coach? So you want to create your personal development strategy around the areas of opportunity. Because let's say you have a list of 15 qualities, and on there are things like, she is driven, she is self-sufficient, she is consistent, she asks good questions, she steps up to take a leadership role, she always offers to help. You know, these kinds of things then really reflect, because as you can see, so much of this, so much of creating your brand and telling your story is actually reflecting on who you are. It's so much self-examination. And if you cut this piece of it out, your brand is not going to have a consistent and lasting quality. You have to do the self-examination first. So rate yourself for each of those qualities on a scale of 1 to 10 on my list. How consistent am I? How driven am I? How much do I offer to help people? How much do I take every opportunity to lead? You know, these things that you're hoping for, like waiting for that rock star. If you are not that rock star, you're not going to bring that rock star in. So that's a big thing to think about. And now to get into telling your story, because as you'll see, you know, telling your story and being able to tell your story in many ways is the biggest part of defining your brand, and not just defining it, but conveying it to people. Because you can have, a beautiful logo and a beautiful name for your page and your team, and create beautiful graphics, and fall in love with the idea of what you believe your brand is. But if you can't convey it in all your posts and in all the ways that you communicate with people on a daily basis, then it's just kind of a waste. It's like a nice story you're telling yourself, but you're not actually doing anything with it. So to tell your story, you have to get used to giving. And this is something that really stands out to me right now, because as I've mentioned in the team group, I'm listening to Go Giver, which is a book that I feel like I want to listen to, over and over. It's just, it's wonderful just for life in general, beyond coaching, but you want to get used to giving in general. Because if people don't feel like you're providing value from your brand, then they're not going to keep following you. They may be quickly attracted to like one great post that you have, or one great image, or one great ad that you run, or something like that, but they won't stay with you. They won't be loyal to your brand unless you are used to giving, and unless that is just something that's associated with you as a brand, that people know that you're always going to help them out. So you want to develop a giving mindset. And you want to forget about 50-50, which those of you that have read Go Giver will recognize. You don't want to focus on what you can get out of people. As much as everything that I'm talking about tonight is strategy, in a way, it's just learning how to be more of who you are. It's you want to not think about, like with every post, what am I going to get out of people? You just want to share you and be unapologetically you, and share with all your heart. And you want to do that when you're working with your coaches. You want to do that when you're working with your challengers. You want to do that when you're posting on your personal page, on your like page, when you are conversing with people in private message, no matter what it's about. You want to share you, and just forget about like, well, am I really going to put all this time into somebody? Just forget about the 50-50, just give. So you want to share what you go through. Be completely open and completely vulnerable to share your brand. You want to share what you've broken through, and what you have become, and what you are becoming, because none of us are perfect. None of us are ideal coaches. Like I feel like I'm always learning about what it takes to be successful, about what it takes to be a better leader, about what it takes to just be better in general. And we should all have that kind of open mindset, and we should be conveying that as well. And you want to be excited about opening up. You don't want to look at this as like something that you're nervous about or scared of, because opening up and really being you is how you will attract people to your team. And I've seen some of you recently starting to really do these kinds of posts, and it's awesome to see them. I saw Rachel had one the other day about how she feels when she's, pushing hard in a workout, what like she thinks she feels versus how she thinks she might look. And like that is exactly the kind of openness that we're looking for. Maureen Buckley put up a post, I think it was this afternoon, talking about the hard time that she's going through this month, and how, really it's not the time to let go of self-care. It's actually, even though it's so hard, the challenge groups are what holds her there. And just like really sharing, that's the kind of thing that you have to get comfortable doing. Because your story is the heart of your brand. And if you think that you can have a brand without sharing your heart, when you are your brand as a Beachbody coach, because again, Beachbody is not your brand. If you think that you can be successful without really sharing who you are, then you're wrong. And, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to take this too far. And no matter how normal you think your story is never too normal. It's yours. Whatever is your story is what's going to reach someone like you, which is what you want. So, you don't, if you have a story where, let's say you're like, well, I didn't even really have to lose a lot of weight, or yeah, like I I jumped into a challenge group with friends and it was so fun and we just kept going and that was it. Like if you think that's all there is to your story, then you haven't looked closely enough, because there's so much more to it. And the thing is that we're all so used to what we do now that we kind of forget about what's special and kind of magical about our stories. So when you sum up your story in a nutshell, which we often try to do so we can create cool posts and stuff that attract people, we often take away the emotion from that story, and we take away the vulnerability, because we just simply state the facts. So you want to think about your story with all of the emotion that came along with it, because the vulnerability is what attracts people like you to you. So to attract total strangers into your business and attract the kinds of people you actually want to work with, you need to be open about your story. You need to reveal yourself every day. Feel like you're revealing more of who you are. And you need to know and actually believe that your story is valuable so that you can have fun with this. So some questions to ask yourself. What have you had to endure to get to where you are and to become who you have become? So this is you, as if you're a mom, you as a mom, you as, a wife if you're married, you as a coach, you as a person on your fitness journey, you as just a woman, like whatever your age is. Like for me, next year I'm going to be 40. And to be confident in who I am at this point in my life, what have I had to endure to get here, to feel this way at this age? That is something to reflect on. What have you had to overcome to be the person you are now? What excites you? What made you skeptical about joining a challenge group? Because again, when you ask yourself these questions, you're anticipating the questions of what your avatar or the person you want to attract to your brand, you're anticipating what they're going to ask you and what's going to hold them back. So you want to put this information out there and save them the trouble of having to ask. So what made you skeptical about joining a challenge group? I can clearly remember what made me skeptical. What made you skeptical about coaching? I can clearly remember the hours of phone conversations I had grilling Dave Atkins on the phone about all these things about coaching and why I should bother signing up. Why did you not join Beachbody earlier than you did? And I don't mean just because you didn't know about Beachbody. Why were you not necessarily looking for something like this earlier? What kept you from looking? What kept you from feeling like you could even engage in some kind of health and fitness program that's more of a formal program? Or what kept you from feeling like I could be a coach? What kept you from feeling like I could be more than a discount coach? Now, what feels hard for you on a daily basis? You should be talking about that in your brand. When have you felt your lowest? Why? How did you get through it? And this does not mean that you have to expose your family problems or, what things that, happened that were traumatic. I'm not saying you have to share those things, but you can touch upon, again, how you felt when big things happened in your life. You can refer to a time that was difficult, and you can say how you got to that point without giving the details and how you got through it. More importantly, what has held you back in your health and fitness journey? What holds you back now from being wherever you want to be if you're not there? And what has held you back as a coach? Because you want to share that too. Maybe you have a lack of confidence. I mean, don't we all to some degree, right? Talk about that. Talk about, I thought coaches had to be this way, but I'm this way. I always tell you guys, I'm an introverted person, but the things I do now, I just push right through kind of the barriers of that. But it has been something to push through, and it's something I still push through on a daily basis. That's something to talk about. And when you're focusing on giving value, when you're focusing on these posts and sharing these stories, you always want to start and end with your own personal experience. So if you are talking about a challenge group, or if you are talking about overcoming an obstacle, and why others should, in your story that is being presented by your brand, You want to start with something in your experience where you did this, and you want to end with something like that. I think I just saw a chat, so hold on one sec. Oh, okay. No, I don't see another chat. You want to ask yourself, how many people are going through the same thing? Because again, if you're trying to attract people who are like you, they may be experiencing something that you went through last year or 2 years ago and just experiencing it now. So you want to think about what it felt like when you first started something and reach those people. And these things are known as identification factors. These are the connection points that make people want to learn more. And like I was saying, most of us don't see the value in our daily Beachbody experiences because we're just so used to it. You know, we're just so used to doing challenge groups, and we're just so used to posting on Facebook, and we're used to inviting, and we're used to drinking our shake, and we're used to exercising. But it might not be so long ago in the grand scheme of things that you were doing like no exercise, or you were doing sporadic exercise, or you were eating like crap, or you were afraid to post on Facebook, or you know, you were afraid to reach out to people, or you were afraid to even reach out to ask about a challenge group. You want to think about those things, and you want to teach yourself to look for the little moments that convey your life. And it's funny because I don't know how many of you are on Snapchat yet, but you know, Snapchat is really kind of the next big social media vehicle, and I just started using it last Friday. And I'm loving it so far. But it's such a different thing because with Snapchat, you are really like telling little stories. And so I'm constantly thinking to myself throughout the day, what would it convey if I showed this right now? Like, this is part of my life. My goodness, I do this every single day. I didn't even realize. What does this mean about me? You know, but I'm going to put it out there. And seeing the little stories within your day is really like a great thing to train yourself on. You know, look at yourself like you are a character kind of in a TV show, and how your character's role would be conveyed. And this is important because you can't influence or persuade anyone unless people feel like they have an emotional connection to you. And that's why we always say with Beachbody, you're sharing, you're not selling, because it's the emotional connection that allows people to take action. And when you attract like-minded people, you're also giving people their first leg up, as if and when they become a coach on your team, you're basically showing them by example how to duplicate what you do, so they will ultimately be successful too. So how you present yourself now is how your coaches are going to present themselves, because they're going to watch what you do. Let me check the chat box again. Yeah, exactly, Rachel. Yeah, on Snapchat, it forces you to breadcrumb. That's exactly right. So how do I convey this? So getting interviewed, and I think getting interviewed verbally, not with writing, is the single most important way to have your story come out. So if you have a success partner, I think that this is a great thing to do with your success partner. Like, just jump on Zoom and have your success partner ask you random questions, like some of the questions that I've shared in this presentation. Ask you about how you got started with Beachbody, ask you, you know, what made you join your first challenge group. Because the thing is, you want to see how you sound. You know, you want to see, like, what are those parts that I kind of try and cover in my story, or that I make light of, or that I feel the need to be sarcastic about, or, you know, what part am I laughing through? Because the thing is, you want to convey your voice as well. And it's hard with writing. And if you're comfortable on video, then that's great to be able to convey so much on video. But this really gives you a sense for how to let your story come out. And for those of you that have told your stories on team calls, or have done it as an assignment to tell your story on video, you know that what's in your head, it doesn't always come out exactly that way, and it's really enlightening to see yourself tell your own story. So even if you don't have a success partner, just turn on the webcam on your computer and video yourself trying to tell the story of why you decided to do something, what holds you back, all those questions, trying to answer those questions. You'll be surprised at what comes out, and it will give you some great nuggets for how to share that story from your brand. And the thing is, if you're not comfortable being on camera, because when you're sharing these things, having a picture, at least a picture of your face, if you're not talking on video or something like that, if you're not comfortable with it, then talk about the fact that you're not comfortable with it. That's part of who you are and the person you're attracting. I hate being on camera. I'm shy. I don't like to do this, but you know what? I'm putting myself out there because there's probably someone out there who feels the exact same way. Just be honest. You have to write your posts and share yourself how you actually would through talking. So with the identification factors that I mentioned and why stories work, you want to think about how we don't know what's possible until we see somebody do something. It's like when you think about, the archetypes, like I know several of us are big readers here and kind of like English major type people. And, when you think about the archetypes, like those stories that just play themselves out over and over again through history and literature and movies. And it's because it makes us feel like we can do something or we can move beyond something. And that's what you want your brand to do too. You want your brand to give people the ability to see themselves in you. And you want to talk about your limitations and your challenges, because this is what helps people see themselves in your life and it makes them curious. So you're going to be authentic and vulnerable, and you're going to identify as many factors and circumstances from your life that people may be able to see themselves in. So just kind of like jumping ahead here, this is really like when you are watching a TV show and you totally identify with one of the characters, even if the character is like some secret FBI agent, and you're not, hopefully no one is here. Like if you're picturing yourself as that person, and that's what keeps you watching week after week, right? Because you really identify with a character. It's the same way with us telling our stories as brands. When people identify with us, it's what makes them keep watching, or it's like when you're singing along with the song and you're singing the lyrics and you're totally thinking about how it applies to one situation in your life, or making you remember some story about when you were a teenager and you're seeing that story play out because of the song. That's what your brand is going to do for other people too. You need to kind of create that power. And again, if you're being authentic and sharing your passion and your life and what you want your destiny and your future to be, you are not selling. You're simply bringing people into something that you believe in, and you're helping other people better their lives. So the thing is, like when you put up a call to action post or when you have an ask for something, you don't feel sleazy like you're trying to sell people, because you've provided so much value. You have given and given and given. So if you're asking people to do something, which you should be, then, because if you don't ask, then you're never going to get what you want. You don't have to feel badly about it, because this is all part of your story and the way that you are helping people. So other people's breakthroughs inspire us to break through our own self-imposed limitations. It's like the first time you saw Rocky, right? And you felt like, well, I can do something amazing too because this guy did. It's like that. And this is actually, I've learned a specific type of brain cell that gets us to do this, called mirror neurons. It literally forces us to imagine ourselves in a story we are reading or listening to. And that's what you want to have, those stories going so people can do the same, because it's what's going to inspire them to act. So going back to choosing who your avatar is for your brand, even if you are working on overcoming something different than what your audience is, they can still connect to the emotion of whatever the challenge is. So like, for instance, even though you may be talking about, I don't know what, like whatever your challenge is, like, okay, for me, a challenge this week is potty training my daughter, right? So even if I'm talking about potty training my daughter and someone else is not potty training their daughter, if I'm talking about just like how I'm, you know, kind of sick of things being a certain way, and how I really believe that she's capable, but she just won't do it. And, you know, this is kind of a control issue for me and for her. And if I start telling a story like that, then everyone can think of an experience where, you know, they've felt that way another person, and they want this person to, you know, feel better or do better. And there's this push and pull. You want to have the emotions there with the story, so no matter what story you're telling, people can connect with the emotions. And you want to just think of every day as an opportunity to reveal something about your life and your brand and attract people to that. So again, the aspects of your story to focus on, you know, what are your health issues that you might be dealing with? What are your financial challenges? Is there a specific nutrition challenge that you face on a daily basis? You want to think about your why. We always go back to our why as Beachbody coaches, because your story spoon feeds that why into people's lives. You want people to believe in your why, because that's going to allow you to really believe in theirs if they have a similar why when they join your team later on. And so your value offering posts are your storytelling posts, and you're asking people to do something. Your call to action posts is going to be that they're so, the emotion from all your stories, your value added posts have riled them up to actually want to do something about where they're at. And that's when they respond to your call to action. So you're going to be telling your story, transitioning it into a call to action. You want a call to action that's both strong and subtle. Kind of think of it as an inspired invitation. And if you're afraid to ask, just think to yourself, you know, you're never going to get what you want unless you ask. You also need to hold their hands with the ask, you know, with this part of conveying your brand. Again, you know, you are a helper. You want to show them exactly how to take the next steps. You want to make everything really obvious and easy for them. You want to remember that everything you do is a guidebook for what they ultimately do if they join your team. You want to let people know that you've been where they are, and help them feel confident about taking this journey with you. And again, when you've provided tons of value, you never have to feel badly about that ask. So I'm going to stop sharing now. And I know that was so much information, but it's just so much of what I want to convey when I think of like page training. And I just feel like this is the kind of thing where I have to actually talk through it. So I'll have up little posts like this when we do the like page training, but I wanted to talk through it as well. So does anyone have any questions, comments, things that stood out to them? No? You guys feel good? Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for the time, and I will share my slides to save you from, you know, maybe trying to look through notes or anything like that. George raised her hand. Can you go ahead?
I was just going to ask if you were going to share them, but you were saying it as I was tapping it, so.
Okay, I will be sharing, yes. Okay, anything else? All right, guys, thank you for the time. Have a great night. And I will be posting the bridal bootcamp calls. Thank you, Rachel. The bridal bootcamp details and this information in the team group later on. All right, good night, guys.